Welcome into Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast. We are presented by BetMGM. It is Tuesday, June 13th. Great to have you with us. Brendan Glasheen, Charlie DiSturco, and Tanner McGrath is with us today, both at Action Network, of course. You can find these guys in the Action app. They're always betting on baseball. And if you're listening, that's probably what you're doing too. So thanks for stopping by. We are with you every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday during the season. Just a quick programming note, we won't be here on Monday, June 19th, a federal holiday that we observe at Action, so we will not be recording on Monday. So we will talk to you Friday and then next Tuesday again. So it's like the old days. We did the show just Tuesdays and Fridays, but we've added the extra day on most Mondays. If you would not mind, please leave a 5-star rating or a rating. That's fine too, I guess. And subscribe to the podcast. We appreciate it. You folks have been awesome this season. Charlie kept the chair warm yesterday. Thanks, Charles. Great job.
And the Oakland Athletics won. So, I mean, it's like a 2-for-2 day of just great. I'm hosting. I might just have to host every single time from now on, Brendan. They might never lose.
15-game slate tonight. Real quick. I know we hate going back in time, but wait a minute. So they played Tampa. What was the line on Oakland? I didn't check yesterday.
220.
Yeah, plus
220, 210. Yeah, I mean, this is their 6th straight win, and they were they've probably been no less than 170. On the money line every single time. I've of course been too afraid to pull every single time. I've done it once or twice, but
don't they have their protest game?
Their protest game is today. They're filling up the stadium.
That has to be an auto bet, right? The A's have to be an auto bet.
Well, I've been thinking about it. And Yanni Trinos is getting the bulk of the innings. I was thinking about that. Sorry, Brendan, we're derailing the conversation.
No, this is perfect. I mean, we're just getting right into the
performance 5 days ago too. That's all right.
Now we're potentially betting the Athletics today. So all because Brendan just mentioned actually I mentioned it, but you can always
I did. I asked who they played. I saw the score. They were playing. I didn't check the lines yesterday. I was out and about. So
yes, it's currently minus plus 180 Oakland Athletics at BetMGM. Over under 8.5. Yeah.
And I think Tampa's going with Beeks as an opener today, and then Hogan Harris is on the mound, who has an ERA of 6.5. Great. So we'll get there, okay, with the A's. But of course, we just had to dive right in on Oakland. It's the new thing you got to tune into. Are we betting the Oakland A's or fading them? Now it's become, are we betting them because they've won 6 in a row? We always start the show, though, with best bets. Charlie, you can go first. What do you got for us today? Big slate.
Yeah, taking the over 8.5, San Francisco, St. Louis. It's up to 9 at a lot of places right now. So if you can't grab that 8.5, grab that 9. I'm still fine with that. Alex Cobb against Jack Flaherty. If you look at Alex Cobb, he's been a pitcher I've been trying to fade over the last few weeks. His actual ERA, a run lower than expected, a barrel rate of 7.1%, which is his highest since 2020. And he's also allowed his lowest or highest expected batting average, expected slugging, and hard hit rate since that time. So it's just a pitcher that's not really generating as much success as you would expect, but he's been using an 81.6 left on base rate and timely ground balls to get out of plenty of jams. So I'm looking to fade Alex Cobb against a St. Louis offense that's top 10 in every single metric against right-handed pitching, 6th in WRC plus, 9th in WOBA, 9th in isolated power. And then opposite him, Jack Flaherty, we've talked about him plenty of times on the podcast, early on fading him. Most recently, he's really shored up his hard hit rate and barrel rate, but his biggest issue is control. He's got a 13.2% walk rate, and he's in the bottom 10% of all pitchers in chase rate. So players are not really swinging out of the zone on him. It's just a matter of whether or not he can generate enough soft contact to really, limit damage. I think this is a sell spot for him. You look at his last few starts, 18 and a third innings pitched, 16 hits, 7 walks, but just 2 runs. So plenty of base runners, just no success following suit. He's got his 2nd worst barrel rate of his career. And the cherry on top is the wind is blowing out double digits in 80-degree temperature at this ballpark. And then based on a 27-game sample size, RotoGrinders Weather Edge has a plus 36.3% increase in home runs and 10.1% increase in runs. So I like the over here. Both teams had to throw some of their better arms yesterday, specifically San Francisco. Tyler Rogers and Doval both threw nearly 20-plus pitches. So they might not be around for this game. Despite both bullpens ranking in the top 10, I think starters will struggle. And with the wind blowing out against these two offenses, San Francisco top 5 in WRC plus against right-handed pitching, both are setting up for success tonight.
Didn't Ryan Helsley go down too?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. He's, I mean, they're The Cardinals bullpen is starting to get taxed. I'm pulling it up right now. Halsey's on the IL. Gallegos is still there. Palante just pitched yesterday. And you always get a hit or miss with Jordan Hicks if he can locate the zone. So, without Halsey and with the 50-50 balls of the back end of the bullpen, and San Francisco crushes righties. So,
yeah, I really like that look, Charlie.
All right. Cardinals are kind of falling apart, right? They but that division is just still such a mess that
a lot of it's pitching. A lot of their pitchers are not great. Their bullpen blows a lot of leads. The offense is fine. I mean, like they've been fine. They lost last night in a nail biter, but I think they're going to score some runs here against Alex Cobb, who's pitching way above expectation.
Okay. And the Cardinals, this is more of a criticism of them. They've been more of an under team lately. They've been falling under the totals, most totals in baseball, 8 to 10 runs every night. So they've been more of an under team lately, but we'll see. Maybe the Giants are due to get beat up a bit, their pitching staff. All right, very good. So we got Cardinals, Giants, over 8.5 runs. Would you play it at 9? I'm sorry, you said that already.
Yeah, okay. No, I played at 9 up to like 110, 115. I think that this might be a juice 9 by the end of it, especially with the wind that's coming out to right field. And the Giants are a lefty heavy lineup, so that's a positive for them.
Excellent. All right, Tanner, what's up? What do you got for best bet?
So I preach this a lot on the Action Network channels. The Orioles are a great team with monster holes in their rotation. Dean Creamer is one of them, a replacement level back end innings eater, 6.2 expected ERA. His fastball velocity is actually up. His stuff numbers are a little better, but he hasn't fixed what's arguably the worst batted ball profile in baseball. The Jays are starting Chris Bassett. I'm not a fan of him. I don't think anyone at this company is. I don't know what kind of magic voodoo spell he has going on that allows him to pitch 9 shutout against the Braves, 7 shutout against the Pirates and the Yankees, 8 shutout against the Mets and the Astros. Maybe it's the league best defense that's behind him. The Jays lead the league in defensive runs saved this year. Maybe it's the added sinker and sweeper. Whatever. I can buy into the voodoo magic for one start, especially because in a matchup between right-handed pitchers, I pretty much always give the advantage to the Jays, the hard-hitting Blue Jays. They're second in WRC plus against the side over the last month. Only them in Texas have a WRC plus over 120 during the stretch. Bo Bichette is outstanding. I'm starting to believe he might be like the best hitter in baseball. Leads the league in hits, but he swings out of his shoes every single time. It looks like you're watching Joey Gallo, but it has like the same average as Yandy Diaz. It's crazy. Anyways, the O's are closer to league average during the same time frame by their offensive metrics. And I'm willing to back Bassett in front of the Jays defense and behind the Jays offense against Reamer. I'm taking the Blue Jays first 5 money line. I believe right now it's minus 150 at BetMGM. That's probably my limit. Anything under there or better is good.
Okay. Minus 140 right now.
Minus 140. Great.
Wow. Yeah. Bassett walk rate is up. Hard hit rate is up from previous years. I've got those numbers right here. He's at, let's see, his hard hit rate is at 35%, which is up from one of his last years in Oakland. Walk rate's at about 8%, his worst since 2019. Charlie, you got a thought on this? Chris Bassett. And I love how Tanner brings up how Action Network, we swarm to these people. We have our people.
Well, Bassett he's definitely a fade candidate, but you still have to give him a significant advantage over Creamer. I mean, the guy he's a replacement level starter. Bassett, at least, I bet he's a 1.5 WAR pitcher this year or something.
Okay.
A lot of it, I mean, Bassett has such a deep arsenal. He can throw 8 pitches, I believe it is. So, like, if one pitch is not working, he can always throw another. The only one he needs working is the location of his sinker, because that's the one he throws 40% of the time. I mean, I don't hate this look here. I'm not laying the juice, but I like Dean Kramer is one of those guys that, or Kramer, whatever. He's a fade candidate for sure. I've tried to fade him almost every start in the last month. He gives up incredibly hard hits, and against this Blue Jays lineup, it's not a great recipe for success. And also, Cedric Mullins is still on the injured list. I believe Mountcastle might return, but he was out with an illness on was it Friday, and he still hasn't come back. So he's been day to day. So if he's also out, which I mean, he's worse against right-handed pitching, but it's just if the Orioles are missing some of their key bats, it's never really a great recipe for success. So I like the look toward Bassett. I don't know about the full game, which is why I like Tanner's look at the first 5. I do think Bassett's a better pitcher than Kremer by a large margin.
I definitely give the bullpen advantage to the Orioles.
It's hard to fade. It's hard to fade that bull. Like Cano and Bautista are incredible.
And also, like, Romano on the road is not a guy that I really look to back. Also, was I pronouncing his name wrong the entire time?
I have
Kremer.
I've heard both. So I think DeBundo I think calls it Kremer. I call it Kramer.
DeBundo has like his love DeBundo. Okay, this is gonna sound like DeBundo has like his weird pronunciation fun, like his own like little inside jokes that he keeps to himself, and he just calls guys whatever he wants to call them. Yeah. And I can't tell if he actually is saying their name right or not. So
and then he's too busy in San Francisco to probably be listening to this. Anyway.
Baseball Reference has it at Kramer, like the Seinfeld character.
Okay.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought it was, but then I keep hearing DeBundo go Kremer, and I'm like, oh well, maybe DeBundo's.
It's a DeBundo inside joke thing that we don't know about.
Yeah, he's probably laughing in his shoes right now.
Exactly right. So.
Using an inside joke on an award-winning podcast. Good work, man.
Nice. We should keep Tanner around more often. So there you go, Dean Kramer. We got your name right, but we don't really like you tonight. Is what we're trying to say.
We like him. We just like to fade him. There's a difference.
Yes. But both reasons you both brought up, bullpen of Baltimore and the question marks in the lineup. I was my follow-up was going to be why not play the over 8.5 runs, but I think you just explained some of the reasons why you might be hesitant about doing that.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Excellent. Let's find out if we're going to fade the public. Today we are looking at Dodgers White Sox. This is a game on ESPN Plus. If you are subscribed to the subscription service of ESPN Plus, Tony Gonsolin on the mound for the Dodgers at home. They are facing the Chicago White Sox with Lance Lynn. The White Sox, have they turned a corner? White Sox are plus 180 on the money line tonight. Dodgers minus 225 per our Action Network Pro account section, the pro portion of the app. You can see that 92% of the bets, 89% of the money is coming in on the Dodgers. Tanner, I'll go to you first because you are actually backing Los Angeles. You're riding with the people in some fashion. What do you got?
Yeah, it's hip to be square. It's pretty obvious that when you get a matchup between two right-handed starting pitchers, you can safely bet the Dodgers and fade the White Sox. Right-handed pitching has been the Dodgers' better split for 5 straight years. It's been the White Sox' worst split for the same time frame. This season, the Dodgers are 4th in WRC plus against righties. White Sox are 28th. It's like a 30% different in run creation, compared to league average. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, White Sox starting pitcher Lance Lynn has imploded on himself. The stuff plus on his 4-seam fastball was 113 during the COVID year. It's 90 this season. Opposing hitters are slugging 650 off the pitch. And when his 4-seam isn't working, it trickles down to his other 2 fastballs, the cutter and sinker. He throws those 3 fastballs, I think 90% of the time. And when his top one isn't working, the rest of his arsenal is trash. It's easy to see that his ERA is approaching 7 and his expected ERA is approaching 5.5. Ooh. Conversely, I'm not really sure what I make of Tony Gonsolin yet. He's overperforming his peripherals. His stuff numbers are fine. I don't know if I have over 40 innings. I'm not sure if we've reached a large enough sample size that I really can make a full judgment on him. I am worried about his strikeout minus walk rate, which is dipped below 10%, and that usually stabilizes before other stats. But his batted ball profile looks fine. And I'll take Gonsolin if it means I can fade Lynn and the White Sox against a righty. I don't want any part to do with the Dodgers bullpen. I like the Dodgers first 5 run line minus a half run. That is minus 135 at BetMGM, I believe. Brendan, if you can double check that. Anything minus 150 or better is good.
The laying the half run. Got it. Yes. Minus 135. That is correct.
Thank you. That's great.
Cool. Lance Lynn, not great. Tony Gonsolin, Charlie, is a guy that we've talked about in the past. He had an unbelievable year, outperformed all the expectation numbers last year. As Tanner brought up, 40 innings plus now in the season, only 4 home runs allowed. You mentioned some of the concerns about him, but with Lance Lynn on the other side, do you want to take Los Angeles as well and ride with the people?
No, I am not taking a side on here. I actually lean over, if anything. I don't really need to harp on Lance Lynn too much more than Tanner has. He's just pretty horrific this year, and I think he's starting to enter Dallas Keuchel territory where it's just
Oh,
he can't figure it out. I don't know if
that's
it's
dark.
the weight thing with the pitch clock, and if those are the guys that struggle, because Lance Lynn and Manoah, who's now in AAA, both heavier set guys that have struggled tremendously this season with the institution of the pitch clock, and we've talked about this plenty of times on the podcast. And Gonsolin is a pitcher that, like Tanner said, he out pitches expectations a lot. His ERA is over 2 runs higher than actual. I have been looking to fade him plenty of times recently, and like he's on my radar as far as every time a matchup comes across my plate and he's pitching, I look to fade him or taking over at some capacity. So I lean over here. I may actually end up playing it. I have to look at the weather conditions around game time and the lineups that come out. It's always scary to back a White Sox lineup that Tanner's mentioned against righties. They're, bottom 5 in baseball and WRC plus. So it's always scary to do that. But I mean, I think that the Dodgers can easily put up 5-6 runs on Lance Lynn here. And then it's just a matter of Tony Gonsolin being a lockbox or not, which Dabondo has also often talked about being able to outpitch expectations given his pitch mix and everything altogether. But I am concerned about Gonsolin in the long run.
Dodgers team total over minus 4.5 runs is at -140. 5.5 is +120. Those potentially interested. I read, Alek Manoah got called down. That's not a surprise. But I saw that he not only, so now he's in AAA, but he went down to the rookie level Florida Complex League first. Oh, crap.
Total reset. That's all you got. He needs a total reset of everything.
Yeah, it's crazy to see the fall that he had from All-Star to not even being able to get out of first inning. That's
11 months ago. He was pitching in the All-Star game, mic'd up, and it was great. I mean, I know people have thoughts on the mic'd up players thing during real, actual regular season games, but in the exhibition setting, he was electric.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's the pitch clock. I truly think that the pitch clock has messed with him and even Lance Lynn to a degree. And there are plenty of pitchers that, if you look at, have struggled this year compared to past years because of this institution of the pitch clock. But like we said, I mean, Manoah can't get out of the first or second inning sometimes, and Lance Lynn is, with his fastball, which is his main pitch. If his location goes a little bit or he's getting hit hard on it, the rest of his pitch mix is this. You could tee off on with the driver and hit 480.
All right. Well, we'll see if Alek Manoah is back and if Lance Lynn is going to join him soon. Dallas Keuchel, that's dark stuff. If it is Dallas Keuchel, we'll have to bring Colin Whitchurch.
I mean, look, if you 5 innings, 5 runs, 4 innings, 8 runs, then he had 6 innings, 1 run against the Tigers, 6 innings, 2 runs against the Royals, and then you go to then 5 innings, 7 runs, then 5 innings, 6 1/3, 4 runs against the Rays, 5 innings, 4 runs against the Blue Jays, 5 innings, 5 runs against the Phillies, 4 1/3, 8 runs against the Giants. I mean, he never pitches shutouts, and then you're getting the Dodgers lineup that crushes right-handed pitching. I mean, it's not great.
I like the Dallas comparison a lot.
Yeah, it's entering that way. Yeah. He's getting up there in age, and every time they trot him out, it's just like, all right, please don't give up more than 5 runs. That's what you're hoping for at this point. They don't have many other options.
Wow. Okay, let's go to our favorite underdogs for Tuesday. Of course, it's a big slate. Everyone's playing, so let's find out if we've got a dog we like. We'll start with Charlie.
Yeah, I like the Los Angeles Angels to win their 2nd straight against Texas here. Jaime Barria's on the mound, and he's been incredible this season, a 97th percentile in average exit velocity and hard hit rate. He's limiting barrels and seen his strikeout rate jump 7%. He's really just been a completely different pitcher than in years past, and he's throwing his 4-seam and changeup a lot more. His sinker last made some changes, and it's really paid off. And honestly, he might even be some negative luck in store too, because he's got a 66.3 left on base rate. So you look at all his metrics, he's in the top 10% of all pitchers in expected ERA. He's really throwing the ball well. And the Rangers, they had to scratch John Gray, so they're most likely going with Cody Bradford, but he's in Arlington. They haven't really said anything yet, but I would expect him to at least get the start for Texas. And if not, and it's a bullpen game, that's even better in this circumstance, because if anyone watched last night's game, the Angels and Rangers played an extra inning game in a bloodbath of just so many pitches. Teams didn't die. The batters were taking every pitcher deep into the counts. So both bullpens are taxed. The Angels, I give the edge to, both in the long run and as far as depth goes. And when you look at Bradford, yeah, he has a 182 ERA in AAA over 10 starts, but he's got an 84% left on base rate, a lower than a 30% ground ball rate, and an xFIP that's 5.79. So a lot of concerning peripherals for Bradford, who has had success in the minors, but then has come up to the majors with a 7.2 ERA and almost 2 home runs per 9. The Angels crush left-handed pitching. They've done it all year. They're top 10 in WRC plus and just about every other metric against left-handed pitching. So I think that the offenses are kind of about even here. I think the bullpen edge goes slightly to LA, Texas. They're in the bottom 5 in xFIP. And then the starting pitching matchup, I think Barria has the edge. So I don't see why they're not favored here. So I would take them at, I believe the best number right now is plus 120, maybe 115. I take it all the way down to even money. I have them favored in this game.
I'm not seeing a line at BetMGM. I think because of the uncertainty or it hasn't been confirmed about the starting pitcher. So shop around, everybody. And if a line goes up for BetMGM, take a peek at what the deal is for that game. But right now, as Charlie said, you look around, Angels are an underdog for tonight's game. Tanner, underdog you like for Tuesday?
I was genuinely shocked we are getting plus money to fade Jameson Taillon. One thing you could say about him is that he never stops tinkering. He's working right now with 3 different fastballs, an added sweeper, but whatever he's doing right now is not working. ERA north of 7, expected ERA north of 5.5, on pace for career highs in barrel rate and walk rate. Bad things tend to happen when you allow base runners and then barrels right after. And overall, I'm looking to fade the Cubs more generally. Against right-handed pitching and over the past month, they're the only team batting under 200 with an OPS under 600, worst by WRC+. They're 14-24 since the calendar flipped to May. Pirates are starting Luis Ortiz, whose underlying statistics and batted ball profile are more than questionable. But he's got a live arm, a near triple-digit fastball with extension. He's got a wipeout 70-grade slider that averages close to like 2,500 RPMs. He's the better pitcher by stuff, and he has a higher ceiling. And I think he could put together a half-decent start against a flailing Cubs team. And sure, the Pirates were horrific in May, 8-18. But I think they're starting to right the ship. 6-3 in June behind a rebounding lineup, 111 WRC plus during the month. Both bullpens have been brutal lately, in full discretion. I still trust David Bednar and Colin Holderman more than Mark Leiter and Adbert Alzole. I think Bednar might be a top 2 closer in the National League still. I like the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think they're plus 115. I'd take them at plus 105 or better.
All right. Chicago Cubs are bottom 6 in baseball and bullpen ERA. Pirates, I think that number is skewed because of how they performed early in the year, but they're still top half, but not
last 2 weeks to last month or so. Both are bottom 10 by expected FIP and most metrics. But like I said, I still have trust in that Pirates core in the back end of games, more so than I do with the Cubs.
All right. Okay, a couple more final bets before we go. This is an opportunity for both guys to kind of riff and deliver what they might have in the app. So Charlie, you can go first, then we'll go to Tanner and we'll get out of here.
Yep. Under in San Diego, Cleveland, 7.5 right now. I got it at 8. It might head back up that way, but if not, I would take the under 7.5 for the first 5 under. Musgrove is a positive regression candidate. 3.10 expected ERA versus 4.36 actual. His 2.12 expected batting average is lowest since the COVID year. He's really putting it all together. He struggled early on in the season because he came back from injury where he had a weightlifting accident and ended up sitting out for the beginning of the start. So struggled, and now he's pitching a lot better. 17 in the 3rd inning of 3-run ball. Over his last 3 with just 2 earned runs, 13 hits, 17 strikeouts. So we're seeing the strikeout rate jump back to normal. We're seeing him limit hard contact. So altogether, with him throwing his slider less and his fastball and changeup more, he's having a lot more success. And I think that that's going to continue here against Cleveland, who's 26th in WRC plus against right-handed pitching. They're really just a disastrous offense in general. And then Tanner Bybee, mainly a 2-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider, stuff plus both over 100, mid threes as far as ERA goes, and most advanced metrics wherever you look, above average in expected batting average, slugging, walk rate. His biggest issue is as the innings progress and he goes second and third time through the order, he becomes a little bit more hittable. But until the 6th inning, his ERA is 3.5 or lower in every inning, especially in the early going. It's below 2. So I think Cleveland will give him a quick hook if he begins to run into trouble here against San Diego. San Diego also 19th in WRC plus against right-handed pitching, so they're also not great. Winds blowing in about 6 miles an hour. And I think San Diego ends up winning this game. So they're home. So that's another 3 outs that they don't have to get. And so I really like the under here in this game. I think both pitchers fare up for some success. And in a close game, which is what I expect, both bullpens should be able to get the job done and keep the lead close. And then, it's not a podcast with Tanner McGrath without mentioning the fish. I'm actually fading them here. George Kirby, I'm buying low on him. He's got elite command. His peripherals are much stronger than you would think. He's the top of the middle rotation arm that's short up on his barrel rate a season ago. He's not generating as many swings and misses, which is a bit of a concern, but he is above average in chase rate. So when he is able to locate his pitches, he's near unhittable. But when he's not able to locate his pitches and he's got to attack the strike zone, he doesn't have the swing and miss stuff and gets teed off on. So I'm expecting against Miami, they're in the bottom 10 in just about every single metric. WOBA, WRC plus, and isolated power against right-handed pitching. Jorge Soler also struggles mightily against righties versus lefties. I think Kirby has a bounce back game. We look at his last 3 starts. He got crushed by San Diego, 11 hits, 5 runs. Then through 8 shutout innings against the Yankees. And then the start before that, 4 2/3, 7 runs, 4 homers against Pittsburgh. So I think it's a little zigzag. I'm going to get Kirby here. Edward Cabrera has a hard time with walk rate. He's got great stuff if he can locate his pitches, but I'm not too keen on this happening. I think he's going to struggle. His last 2 starts, 11 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, 14 Ks, but that was against the Athletics and the Royals. The Athletics before they started winning games, and the Royals. So his expected metrics worse than Kirby. Seattle, the number 1 pen as far as xFIP goes. The offense, they walk at a near 10% rate. They're 11th in walk rate. And then they're about average grading out hitting against right-handed pitching. So give every edge to Seattle here. Price is minus 140. I'd take it. I'd take it up to minus 150. And then my last one, what's a podcast without an Elly De La Cruz mention? I like him for Dinger Tuesday here, hitting the ball extremely hard. You look at his exit velos against right-handed pitching. They're up in the 90s or 100 mile an hour range. And he faces Jordan Lyles, who gives up 2.2 home runs per 9. His barrel rate is extremely high. If there's a guy that you want to back on the Cincinnati Reds lineup to hit a home run, it's Elly with his free swinging, heavy swinging set. And you look at the wind, it's blowing out 6 miles an hour in 80-degree temperature to right center. Elly De La Cruz is a switch hitter, so he'll be batting from the left side. So that's a positive for him. Weather edge on Roto Grinders, I mentioned it earlier, 19.9% home run rate increase at this, given the field conditions right now around game time.
All right. I'm still offended by George Kirby and what he did at the beginning of May when he only struck out 2 Mariners
against the Athletics,
2 Oakland A's.
Yeah. Oh, and I should mention that the line just dropped. I have to do my research now and make sure that Yanni Chirinos is coming out after Jalen Beeks. But if Yanni Chirinos comes out after Jalen Beeks, I do like the over in that matchup. It's at 8.5 right now. Hogan is a below average arm, and the Rays crush left-handed pitching. They used Waldichuk, so he's not going to be able to pitch. Fujinami might get some bullpen work. That's a disaster. So I think both, and the Rays bullpen has not graded out that well. And Yanni Chirinos, Tanner and I will go on and on. We don't have to about how much of a luck box he is. He's the worst pitcher when you look at xERA to actual ERA in all of baseball, the biggest difference. So if, and the A's hit left-handed pitching well. So if Yanni Chirinos lines up behind Beeks and that's confirmed, I think 8.5 is too low.
Hey, Tanner, you've got, I think, one more for us, and then we can do a quick Oakland A's mention to wrap up the program.
Yeah, just one more. Didn't like a whole lot on this slate, but I do think that the Yankees-Mets total opened way too low. Opened at 7.
Yankees-Mets, great matchup.
Opened at 7, Subway Series. Opened at 7, currently sitting 7.5, 8. Good with, I would prefer a 7.5, but I'll take the 8. I realize that there's no Aaron Judge or Pete Alonso. I realize that these teams have been just pitiful at the plate lately. can't push any runs across without their big bats in the middle. But 7.5 for a matchup between Luis Severino and Max Scherzer just seems crazy to me. Sevy has blown up in 2 of his past 3 starts. He's got an expected ERA way
Freaking
north of
Dodgers.
6.
Mm.
He's got a strikeout minus walk rate that's the lowest it's ever been since 2015 was the last time he was even close to that. And then Scherzer's fastball velocity is down. The stuff plus on his entire arsenal is down. It's actually just 100 flat this year, league average. His fastball is 102. He's using a slider less, and the XWOBA allowed on that pitch is up over 100 points from last year. I mean, he doesn't project out as any better than maybe a mid-3s ERA, like a number 2 starter. Both these guys have blow-up potential too. Scherzer's allowed 5+ ER earned runs and 3 times this year, 4 times. Then you realize also that the Mets bullpen is shaky. Bottom 5 in reliever expected FIP over the last month. Bottom 10 in win probability added overall. I never really bought this unit without Edwin Diaz. And then you also realize that the Mets defense is bad. Bottom 12 and outs above average and defensive runs saved. The Yankees are better in both areas. The bullpen's nasty. But the outfield defense takes a hit with Judge sideline. Overall, I think there's too many opportunities for runs across all 9 frames. Each team only has to scrape a few across.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the over.
Tanner's like, if Charlie's going to come over here and shit on my Marlins, well, I'm going to come on here and say, well, your Mets also smell.
They're so bad.
I think the Fish are 7 games up on the Mets. So
Tanner could have a 1-1 game going into the 8th inning, and the Mets will give up 6 runs and he'll hit his over. Like it's at that point where aside from David Robertson, there is, and even David Robertson's been shaky as of late. There's no answers in the Mets bullpen. I agree with the look. I lean to the over here. I like Scherzer. I think the Mets are the right side in this one. I think Scherzer has a better start. I'm actually concerned about Severino. We talked a month ago about how we thought he was turning a corner and
against the Dodgers, and he sucked. Oh,
he looked really good when he came off the IL, and then the velocity dipped, and he's been crushed. And the Mets, they put the ball in play, and Severino, if he's not getting his strikeouts and he's got low velocity, I think the Mets are going to be able to scratch off a few runs. I was looking at the Mets team total, but it's just I don't know if the team's bettable right now. So like, God bless Tanner for putting up with this offense.
It seems to be a recurring theme with Severino when you finally think he's turned the corner and he's kind of gotten over the hill, and then he gets hurt or he gives up 7 runs to the Dodgers, or his numbers crash, or he never seems to put together sustained success, especially for how high we all think his ceiling is. Sucks.
Yeah.
Mets 4.5 team total at +105 for the over.
I mean,
yeah.
The problem is the Mets are home, so
yeah,
you're getting 1 set of less at bats. If it was flipped and they were away, then it's a different story. Plus the short portion, right. But I lean over in general. It's the matter of what game you get, right? Like if the Yankees are up 4-1 entering the 6th, we might be in trouble depending on it. It's literally just Tanner's got to cross his fingers and hope that the Mets bullpen stinks, which they do. But yeah, it's hard. I have no feel for the Mets right now in general, and I just don't even watch the games anymore. So, okay,
quickly before we go. Oakland A's have won 6 in a row. As we brought up at the start of the show, we had no patience whatsoever to bring this team up, which they deserve it. So now their run differential is now down to a respectable -193 with these wins, this win streak. If you they've been at least a +150 underdog on the money line, a $100 money line better rolled over would now be up close to $64,000.
Oh my God, you should not have told me that.
Yeah, I'm reading from Ben Fox, who has done some work at he used to work at BetMGM. But anyway, I have to do that at some point with the A's again, because we'll probably get another opportunity because they're going to be +180 to 190 every single game for the rest of the year. Yeah, it's not tonight. Not tonight. Okay, you're a no. Tanner, quickly, yes or no? Oakland tonight +180.
Yes.
I mean, listen, the reverse sellout crowd. I like the overlook more because I can't put my money on Hogan Harris. Like that's my thing at the end of the day. So I think the A's do hit, but I think the Rays might also score 5 or 6 runs themselves.
So let's talk about remind me. So the Rays they're going to go Beeks, Chirinos, and then bullpen.
They haven't come out for certain yet. I've been looking on Twitter, refreshing every like 10 minutes. It's Beeks, and then who knows? But I would assume it's a safe assumption to say that Yanni Chirinos, most beat reporters lined him up to start this game, and usually they never bring him in to start the game anyway. He usually pitches the second or third inning, so I would assume Beeks gets 1 or 2, and then Chirinos gets like 3 through 6. 7.
The Rays bullpen is not a strength, man.
They're not.
I think they've been bad.
Charlie's brought that up.
Year, and I think is Fairbanks still hurt? Is he back?
Yeah, he's back. No,
yeah.
he's back on. He came back and then went back on the injured list.
Yeah,
the aggravated injury.
He was like at least a consistent arm in the back end of that bullpen. To me, this is going to be a high variance game, so you might as well just take the plus money, especially with the off the field motivations. I think it's an auto bet.
Tickets as low as $19 if you are attending or want to attend A's and Rays. This is the reverse boycott game at the Coliseum. The guys brought this up earlier. The plan is to give away T-shirts for the first 7,000 fans.
I wish I was in Oakland. I'd go.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of electric. I wish that game was on ESPN Plus or something. So
yeah,
okay.
I have to look at the Chirinos if he comes out or not, but we'll see. But I'll be rooting on the Athletics either way.
Love it. Okay, we're going to go. Thanks to Tanner McGrath, Charlie DeSturco. Follow these guys in the Action Network app. You can find them there. If they add anything, if Charlie does get swayed into betting on the A's, you'll see it. Brendan Glasheen signing off. We are back on Friday for Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast presented by BetMGM. You all have a great Tuesday and talk to you at the end of the week.